6 years in the service.
Wow.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Health Talks with Dr. Trin. The one show, maybe the only show, to show you the path to a healthier life, one conversation at a time, with our sometimes host and co-host, Elaine Blanchette. And welcome, Elaine. Who'd you bring with you today?
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Elaine Blanchette. I'm the president of the Physician CBD Council. And of course, with my partner, Dr. Trin, here this morning. But Dr. Trin, we have a very special guest this morning. It's our first in so many ways. It's our first colonel, that's for sure. And first West Point graduate, I think we have on this show. That's great. He's a doctor just like you, a family medicine physician. And also it's going to be a first because Dr. Philip Blair, who is our guest today, is going to talk about hops, not hemp. And I think that if there are veterans listening right now, if there's a wife, a mother of a veteran, they should be listening right now, and go get them. You have a minute before we start talking about this. Or anyone that had a stigma about hemp, they should listen to this, because we're going to talk about hops, something we find in beer. And actually, that can be a real breakthrough. So Dr. Blair, thank you for being with us today. We're excited. We can't wait to hear from you. So first, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you and to talk to veterans, as well as other people who are very interested in a cannabis alternative that can be very, very effective and meet all of the requirements and the benefits of cannabidiol, but actually come from hops or many other substances, including cloves. So I'm really excited to be able to share this information.
Yes, because you said cannabinoids. What I've learned from you is that hops have cannabinoids, right? They are from the family of cannabinaceae, right?
That's right. They actually contain several cannabinoids that act on the cannabinoid receptors in the body. So our body's made up of this endocannabinoid system, the 12th body system of the body, and it integrates with all the other systems of the body. And hops contains humulene and caryophyllene in multiple forms, so that it can activate a number of the receptors and the number of connections that occur with the endocannabinoid system. So it provides a host of benefits.
It's quite interesting. What other plants have cannabinoids in it? What's part of the family?
This is what's so amazing. It's actually present in at least over thousands of plants. It's got high concentrations in a number of them, but it's actually present in hops and significantly, and it's present in hemp. But the products that I'm recommending don't come from hemp. They come from these other sources: black pepper, basil, oregano, cinnamon. Actually, it's found significant quantities in guava, in mango, and would you believe grapefruit? So it has a wealth of properties, and we get it in our normal diet, but we just don't get enough of it, and we don't have the bioavailability that we can get with a specialized product that is maybe liposomally processed, so that it can be better absorbed.
So for many of us who've never heard of it, what is hops?
What is hops? Well,
Mhm.
that's classically what beer is made from, and it's a mixture, and it's brewed that way. But unfortunately, the benefits and the caryophyllene and the other terpenes are actually lost in the brewing. So there's no caryophyllene or humulene that is present in beer. Although I'm
Mm.
looking at adding it to that to add to the benefits of it.
Let me
Yeah, because I mean, in Ireland, if you go give a pint of blood, they give you a pint of Guinness, so that you rebuild your iron and that you rebuild your nutrients that you would have. And it could be an incentive too, I think.
And as the
That's right.
resident
Yeah.
Irishman here, let me and a former owner of an Irish pub, let me just give you a little more insight into hops here. So, according to the Reinheitsgebot, German purity of I don't know 1066 or something here. There's only 3 ingredients in beer, real beer, and that is water and grain, a mash that they've turned into something, and hops. There's only 3 ingredients. And the hops was originally added, maybe people don't know this, but hops was originally added partially for flavor, but mostly because it turned out to be a preservative. And so if you get real hoppy beer, like India Pale Ales, IPAs, they have lots of hops in them because they were shipping the beer all the way to India. And with the troops, so the more hops, it turned to be kind of a preservative to keep it from going bad. And of course, it's the taste that you associate, that bitter flavor in beer. That's what hops is. And I always heard it was like a flowering plant. I've actually seen it, or the flowers and stuff. And I always heard that it was in the same family as marijuana, as cannabis. Is that true? It's sort of in that.
Yeah, it is. Actually, humulus is a derivative and is very similar in plant structure to cannabis, but it doesn't contain any psychoactive components at all.
Right. It grows in a big vine kind of thing. They take it in
Right.
trellises and stuff, and it has big flowers that look sort of like cannabis flowers here.
And it's a perennial. It's an annual, so it continues to grow and continues to proliferate over time. It doesn't have to be replanted.
So you're saying that hops, this ingredient that's been in beer forever, that gives it that distinctive flavor, that gives it originally some preservative quality to it here, hops has some other benefit to it, although you're saying the cannabinoids get brewed out and when it's boiled and brewed and everything here.
Yeah, it's terrific. The sesquiterpenes are, and the terpenes are the ones that give it a flavor, and it's really benevolence, and its antioxidant capability. So that's one of the reasons why it's a preservative, because it acts as an antioxidant. But it's also acts on the body as an anti-inflammatory, and it's antibacterial, it's antifungal, it's antiparasitic.
Well, as Elaine correctly pointed out, for a long time, the Guinness people used to say, good for what ails you, ale, the double entendre here. And they used to say, they used to prescribe a Guinness, doctors in Ireland, because it had some nutritional value, had some grain and whatnot, and just kind of the culture, everybody should have a pint of beer here. This is what's good for you. It builds you up. Now, they've stopped that a long time ago, because it's hard to advocate that alcohol is a good thing for kids and for everybody else here. But for
well, if you drink enough, you might not remember you have pain or anything. So that's good.
So
you go ahead.
So Paul.
Yes.
So Paul, you had all along an endocannabinoid bar that you didn't realize.
I didn't know. We should have advertised this.
It was therapeutic.
It was therapeutic.
Right?
Exactly.
Mental health, right?
We had 100 different beers on tap and all this stuff here, and so we would have all these things. But it's interesting to me. How did you discover this, or even decide to look at this? You're what, you were a colonel in what branch?
Army.
In the Army. Okay.
I'm a retired Army colonel. I retired as an 06 colonel in 1996. So I've been out for quite a while, but I had over 26 years in the service from graduation of West Point and onwards. So I've had quite a bit of experience. but most of the time I was on the negative side of marijuana, and I was testing for people and orchestrating some sort of punishment or some drug abuse phenomena with them. It was in 2014 I discovered the benefits of cannabidiol. And I was blown away by the application that I could use it for, and I've explored that ever since. I did the research on it, but early in that career, I learned about the beta caryophyllene as being a very valuable substance for pain and for cancer. And so I started incorporating it into my cancer therapy. And oh, by the way, I found that it was very effective topically for pain syndromes, and I was wondering about that. And then I had a patient who inadvertently took the topical oil that I had produced, and she vaped it. I was providing vaporizing solutions, and she had a wonderful effect from it. So then I incorporated it into a vape formula, and I treated a gentleman with severe retinopathy and diabetic retinopathy, and he was losing his vision, and I corrected it completely with that product.
Oh my goodness.
So I realized that the enormous benefits from this, and I finally got it produced into a liposomal format that improved its bioavailability by 5 or 10 times the normal delivery of an oil.
So I'm assuming that
I found extraordinary benefits all over the place with caryophyllene.
So I'm assuming that after you retired from the military, you continued in private practice. Is that what you did? Or you were...
Well, yes, I actually did some locums, and I worked for the Alaskan Native tribes, and I worked in Newfoundland. I filled in for a place in Twillingate, a number of different jobs that I took over. And then I became a disease management specialist for kidney disease. Now, my background is family practice, but I became a specialist in kidney disease and organizing a disease management program that was very, very successful. And then I went on to do the same sort of disease management with a team of dietitians and incorporating dietary therapy for a number of times. And in fact, I incorporated cannabidiol and beta caryophyllene into a program, a nutritional program that was orchestrated and run in a self-insured business. And we saved probably several $1 million for the clients by substituting for CBD and beta caryophyllene for typical expensive drug regimens, including tumor necrosis factor blockers. So we were correcting for the adverse effects of those drugs and the marginal effects where they only are effective about 35% of people. We were actually orchestrating benefits across the board with beta caryophyllene and CBD. And so we saved millions of dollars, and we were very, very effective in doing that.
So last question then, did you at some point, I don't know your complete background, but do you just prescribe, I don't know if prescribe's the right word, but recommend cannabinoids, or do you actually produce products now?
Both.
Okay.
I'm an independent consultant, but I can't stay away from it. I have to recommend, and I'm driven on this particular program because I've seen the benefits of it. They're so widely available. I have to drive out there. So I've produced products, and I've got my own company that's producing cannabinoids in the form of CBD as well as beta caryophyllene. And right now I'm emphasizing the beta caryophyllene because of it's totally different from any other substance that people have recognized in terms of the benefits, and not coming from hemp. And so that it benefits all kinds of people who need an alternative to CBD.
Well, let's talk about that because that's such an important point. Because I heard your old self that was plotting to catch those who are actually using any cannabinoids or any cannabis of some sort, and the new you who has understood that there's so many medicinal benefits, but still into the hemp industry or into the cannabis industry, one of the problems, and that's why I said at the beginning, veterans or anyone that have a stigma should listen to this, because one of the beauty is you have succeeded to extract the cannabinoids and to produce a similar product as CBD or the different cannabinoids of hemp, but it does not contain any THC whatsoever, so it would be untraceable in a blood test. Am I right?
That's exactly right. So because it comes from cloves or hops, it doesn't contain any THC, it doesn't contain any CBD. Now, I want to say first off that I'm a great supporter of cannabinoids and cannabis,
Yes.
and I think it should be incorporated whenever possible. In fact, caryophyllene combines very, very well, and it's synergistic with the cannabis. So I think they should frequently be used together. But if not, then you can get many of the benefits from caryophyllene, and you can succeed with that very much so.
Yeah, because for those who don't know that, if you are a veteran, or if you are a pilot, or if you are a nurse, and you cannot take any products that could have even trace of THC in it, and we all know that hemp could have 0.03, which is insignificant, but people are afraid that they would actually test positive in a blood test. This would be a great alternative to that.
Well, that's right. And it doesn't matter. Everybody's metabolism is differently. And so I've even had people who have vaped CBD come up positive on urine testing. So in spite of the recommendations and the minimal amount of THC, you can still concentrate it in the urine and still come up positive. And so if people are afraid and for their jobs or their livelihood, it's very, very important to be safe in that regard. And so it's also effective. It applies to people with CDL driver's license, a commercial driver,
yes,
and police, and prisoners, and people on drug abuse programs that are all being tested and government agencies that are being tested for THC products, and that becomes a difficult problem. And of course, active duty military and anybody else who is restricted in having testing could take this product, and they could get major benefits from it. It doesn't work in everybody, but it's about 75% effective in dealing with pain, anxiety, depression. It has a calming effect that's really quite remarkable for it. And analgesia. Probably the best effect is the analgesia that it provides. And it doesn't produce a high. It just produces a subtraction of the pain symptoms that people have. And that includes neuropathic pain, it includes mechanical pain, as well as gut pain. And I've seen some remarkable recoveries from gut pain, from peptic ulcers to gallbladder disease. People resolve this pain, and irritable bowel syndrome. It has amazing effects in this regard.
So before we go into some of those effects, let me just ask one question of Dr. Trin or maybe Dr. Blair here. We've had shows in the past on this show and other shows on our station about the lingering effects of THC in your body. Whereas I can go out and drink a beer tonight, and an hour or two later, it's probably flushed out of my system. The alcohol's flushed out of my system. So if I get pulled over, I won't get a DUI. Or if I get tested the next morning, I won't show that I'm drunk or whatever. But if I smoked marijuana or vaped it or something here, that THC component that everybody's worried about that gets you intoxicated, that can linger For some time. I don't know if it's days, but for some time. So even though it's not having an effect on my body, there is a residue in your body that still shows. And you say, well, I did that 2 days ago. I did that last night. I'm not high anymore here, but it still shows in your body. Is that correct, Dr. Trin?
Yeah. It's half-life. It's hangs around for a while. So you can definitely detect it days later in a urine test with that.
So this
Absolutely.
product then
I've actually found, the studies say that it can last for at least almost 30 days for an intensive user, and a
Yep.
typical response may be a couple days. But there's also the grogginess that can occur after an elevated dose of THC. So the next morning you may wake up with this groggy, foggy sort of phenomena, and that's one of the things that you can reverse with beta caryophyllene. It actually reverses that in a matter of minutes.
An antidote.
It can be an antidote, yeah.
Hmm.
And people who have taken who take cannabis with beta caryophyllene have seen a reduction in their need for THC. Typically, is a 40 or 50% reduction, and it eliminates cravings. So that if you notice that you have a craving for THC, then you can stop that immediately by using beta caryophyllene.
What is beta caryophyllene? I never heard of this, Dr. Trin. This is yet another in the confusing CBD alphabet of soup of things out there in cannabinoids here.
You know what we find in carrots?
Another cannabinoid.
All right. What's up, Doc? Okay. All right. Now I know where that comes from. So really, is it just that? It's just another, I don't even know what you'd call it. Is it an ingredient? Is it a molecule? Is it what the heck is beta caryophyllene or whatever here? Dr.
Well,
Blair?
beta caryophyllene is a terpene, and so what the terpenes are fragrant oils that give spice to our flavorings and our foods and give their odors. When you go out into a forest, you get the scent of pine. Well, that's pinene, and that is typically a terpene. It's an oil that gives a scented property. And the same thing is true for many other oils, including caryophyllene. And caryophyllene is actually one of the primary scented oils in the forest that allow plants to communicate with one another and other types of organisms as well. Now, plants will signal with caryophyllene when they are being attacked by a predator, and they actually invite other predators to take care of those predators if they're being attacked.
Now that's wild. You're telling me plants communicate somehow here, that they send out a signal? Help me. I'm being eaten.
Yes, absolutely. They vibrate and they have, yes. They are a living plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the mechanisms is actually for a certain type of parasite that occurs on plants, and they release caryophyllene, and that invites a wasp that actually deposits their larvae on the parasite, and that destroys the parasite.
Wow. Unbelievable.
That is fascinating.
The things we don't know. So this
The friends, the bee friend.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so how did you start fooling around with this substance? Why go down this rabbit hole here? What's up, Doc? Yeah.
Well, but because it was an ingredient, it's part of the entourage in hemp. And so what I found was that in those people who had to avoid hemp or products, I wanted to find a product that would be beneficial, and I wanted to increase the concentration of it. So I actually found a hemp product that contained the highest amount of caryophyllene, and I used that exclusively. And I was having terrific results with the CBD product that I was using that was high in caryophyllene, beta caryophyllene. And I was wondering why isn't everybody having these kinds of results? And then I recognized that it was truly the caryophyllene, the entourage effect of the caryophyllene, that was delivering that effect. So I had it made into a liposomal format for improved delivery and bioavailability. Now, the liposomes are really just kind of bubbles that are the natural way the body absorbs molecules, and the bubble is caryophyllene is contained inside the bubble, and inside the walls of the bubble and it becomes water soluble as well as oil soluble. So it really facilitates the absorption and delivery to all parts of the body immediately after absorption. So it has a definite benefit. And I produced this. I actually had it attempted to get it produced for a couple of years before the manufacturer finally agreed to doing it. And then I tested it in a number of people, in 75 people, and I had terrific results. And I was amazed that I had no idea of all the benefits that can come from it.
So you're getting much of the same benefits, maybe all the benefit or much of the same benefits for anti-inflammatory and pain relief and other things like that, but in a product that has no hemp, no cannabis, or no cannabis, it has no THC in it, and therefore is safe to take because you're not going to get, it won't show up in a urine analysis test.
That's right. That's right. It actually targets the cannabinoid type 2 receptor very, very strongly. It's a very targeted and strong mechanism that connects to it. Now, that's different than CBD and THC, which have relatively weak connections with this cannabinoid type 2 receptor. Now, the cannabinoid type 2 receptor is the one that is on every one of our immune cells. Every one of our immune cells contains this receptor. And by activating this receptor, we shift the immune system from an inflammatory phase to a resolution phase, an M2, what we call the M2 phase of the immunologic cycle. So when we get an infection, we've got to release those cytokines and inflammatory substances, but then we've got to get into resolution phase, and this promotes that resolution phase immediately in its effect. Now, it's also, CB2 receptors are also available on neurons and neuroreceptors, and so they're orchestrating neural connections as well, and it becomes a neuroimmune mechanism that is involved with the delivery. Plus, it's anti-inflammatory, it's antioxidant, it has an enormous number of benefits as well. And that's one connection. That's just one connection and one linkage to a receptor. It actually has about 100 different connections, 100 different linkages to the body systems, and they're all benevolent.
So you talk about the resolution phase. Talk about that, Dr. Trin. I never heard that term. Is that the correct term we're using, the resolution phase? So my body is reacting to something. It's inflamed.
That's right.
It's trying to drive out. It's irritated. It's inflamed. My bowel, my skin, my gut, my something here, my brain. And at some point, I guess I just always thought the resolution comes by removing the irritant. I pull the pearl out of the clam, and therefore I've removed the irritant here. Is there actually a phase that the body enters into, a resolution, a healing phase that it?
Yeah, because persistent inflammation is bad, right? So inflammation is always there for a reason. It's usually the immune system's response to fighting something that shouldn't be there. Think of it as a war, as a battle, right? And we got a colonel and a corporal here talking about all this, right? We think about war and a battle, and inflammation is the kind of like the byproduct of the fight. And at some point, the fight should end, right? Once the bad guys are defeated, the viruses, the bacteria, and all that. And theoretically, if your system works well, the inflammation resolves along with that. So inflammation isn't necessarily bad. What happens is persistent chronic inflammation. I see it as friendly fire. I see it as friendly fire. Trying to shoot the bad guys and shooting the good guys along with that.
Yeah.
That's kind of my analogy. What are your thoughts, Dr. Blair?
Well, inflammation is a part of our lives, and we actually make muscle by an inflammatory signal. We handle stress with an inflammatory signal, and these are benefits actually go on with it. So we secrete hormones in response to stress and different things. And so these are inflammatory responses. But what we're left with, so many people are in chronic inflammation, where they're chronically producing these inflammatory signals that are irritating to the body, and they actually cascade into multiple different inflammatory signals, and they actually make epigenetic changes on the body. So we've got to turn that off. And this is part of the normal healing that goes on with the body and the endocannabinoid system. And so the signal goes out that we're getting to this inflammatory phase, and it's secreting some inflammatory cytokines, and then it needs to switch over to this healing phase, this anti-inflammatory phase, and that becomes the M2 portion, and then it's starting to secrete anti-inflammatory cytokines. Now we don't hear much about that, but cytokines can actually be anti-inflammatory as well. The IL interleukin 4 and the interleukin 10 are actually anti-inflammatory and reduce inflammation. And so we go into that phase, and we go into the healing mode, and we get resolution of the number of macrophages and the number of monocytes that are in an area, and we get to that healing portion of the body, and we get resolution of the membranes. So when we get an inflammation, we get opening up of the membrane pores, and that allows for monocytes and inflammatory cells to move into an area, and that produces swelling and other things. And by going into the healing mode, the M2 phase, we deplete those supplies. We firm up the membranes so that there's no more leakage, and we resolve the inflammation.
Dr. Trin, I know he's speaking English, but when he gets into monophytes and parasites and M4 and Z6 and all these things, I don't know, what are we talking about here? This is just we're talking biochemistry here of how the body works.
Absolutely, the biochemistry of why inflammation exists, and is part of, as Dr. Blair mentioned, is part of our natural body's process, right? To deal with stress, to deal with just life, and the continued biochemistry that balances out the inflammation process, which is the anti-inflammatory process. Think of that homeostasis, right? Homeostasis is a state of balance. So you need inflammation to do certain things like fight infections and bad guys. But at some point, that needs to come back down. And so he's mentioning the biochemistry that brings all that back down to that state of homeostasis for you. So yes, absolutely.
And so these are compounds, molecules, I don't know what to describe them as, but things that the body can release to bring it back into homeostasis and to balance the yin and the yang, get your body back where it's supposed to be here. And you can use these substances, plant-derived substances, to assist the body in getting back to balance. Is that kind of what we're saying here? To trigger the healing and to stop triggering the inflammation?
Absolutely, because our body is in most of our bodies is unbalanced, right? It's in a chronic state of a persistent inflammation based on our diet, our lifestyle, our lack of sleep, our stress level. Right. And so yes, these hops and plant products and all that will assist our body without the THC component to bring it back to that.
So lifestyle, food that we eat, the world that is going way too fast and that we're too stressed on a daily basis just to try to cope with going through the day is creating our inflammation and our state of out of balance.
That's right.
Is this something that we can do and take as a prevention? Can we do it on a daily basis without necessarily yet feeling that chronic pain, that we have not reached yet that level of inflammation that is over the top and that really ruins our lives? Can we do that as a prevention?
Sure, and I recommend it. And all of these cannabinoids are what I call endocannabinoid modulators. We've got this endocannabinoid system in our body, the 12th body system, and if we activate this in the right way and we balance it, then we're going to get a balance and a system that is going to correct for any types of problems, and it's going to prevent many of the problems. Many of these things, as endocannabinoid modulators, are, as you mentioned already, as exercise, sleep, diet, meditation, and certain type of nutritional substances can actually help balance this endocannabinoid system. And so I look at it as an endocannabinoid modulator, both for hemp and CBD, as well as THC and caryophyllene. They come in as a modulator, and there's many other herbs that are very effective for this, including curcumin, milk thistle, echinacea. These are all endocannabinoid modulators that work on the endocannabinoid system, either as a direct agonist or a direct link to some of the receptors, or to support the enzymes that really play a major role in balancing this endocannabinoid system. So yes, these endocannabinoid modulators are very, very effective for preventing many types of illnesses. Now, caryophyllene has been shown in a number of studies. There's over 3,000 studies in PubMed dealing with caryophyllene. Many of them deal with herbal formulas that are fairly unique, but many of them also deal with the caryophyllene as a molecule and the benefits that come from it. And the range of benefits is extraordinary. Now, in particular, I was just reading an article that said that beta-caryophyllene would protect against the complications of atherosclerotic and a heart attack. Very, very much so, and prevent the damage that could occur with a heart attack and minimize the injury from doing that. It's also effective in stroke. And it's also preventive for Alzheimer's disease, for amyloid beta prediction, and as well as Parkinson's. It's been shown to bolster the dopamine receptors and the production of dopamine from those cells in the substantia nigra, that portion of the brain that deals with Parkinson's disease.
So, Dr. Trin, what do you think of that? This can be used as a health regimen, not just to bring your body back into balance, but as almost a preventative measure from it getting out of balance.
Very neat. How far has this research gone beyond bench research and lab research?
Well, there's only 10 human studies on it, and they don't really deal with the depth of the problems. Now, that's in spite of the appeals for additional studies and additional research into this substance. You can come upon a number of different articles that say this should be explored. You should find out more about it, and in particular, cancer. The number of benefits in cancer are just phenomenal, and prevention of cancer, as well as treatments of cancer, and the maintenance of remission in cancer. It's phenomenal in the cancer preventative and treatment phase.
This is mostly, again, this amazing beta, whatever it is, caryophyllene or something here. I'm trying to memorize a new term here. Are all these things you're talking about cancer prevention, perhaps? Treatment of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and enhancing the body's defense against this and the likelihood that it'll develop in your body. This is all tied to this one particular molecule, this beta-caryophyllene?
Yes, sir.
Wow. So why isn't this front page news on the New York Times? Why isn't...
Yes, we do have our PR firm on this.
Because I think it's in the shadow of hemp.
Yes, I think so too.
The shadow of cannabis, and because it's in the shadow, it's disregarded. It's an entourage substance. It's an attachment to hemp, and it's downgraded in terms of its importance. Whereas I think it should be upgraded.
Because it is an endocannabinoid activator.
Yeah, can you points? I would love to see those studies.
Yeah, I've got hundreds of studies that I've isolated. I've actually done more than 50 white papers on the different benefits of caryophyllene and the impact that caryophyllene can have in so many different areas.
Well, off air, you should give Dr. Trin your address or something here, because he's the geek enough to read all these white papers and these studies.
Yeah, he loves that.
And
he eats that for breakfast.
That's right, exactly.
Now, your products are called Able Docs Apothecary, right? And it's BC plus. So for Paul, who has a hard time with and myself with the name beta caryophyllene, it's BC plus. And where do we find these products, Dr.
Well, there are actually several on the market, but my product is a liposomal form, and so it's got a kind of the better format, the best format.
And what is liposomal? It's another term. I have no idea what you're saying.
Well, liposomes are these small bubbles that are actually water soluble, and they're lipid soluble. So it's like a soap molecule, but it improves the delivery of the product into the body and absorption. I like to have people take the product sublingually because it's absorbed so well through the mucous membranes. And then that gets absorbed into the bloodstream and delivered to the body.
And now, is it a pill? Is it a powder? Is it a liquid? Is it what?
It's all of that, right? We have the pills. I have samples here, okay. And then we have that's a sample size here, but the little tincture.
Okay.
Ooh.
Put that on your tongue. Yeah.
I can actually put it into 4 different formats for people, so they can really choose between them. The primary product that I really want to emphasize is the liposomal form. The liposomal form is the one that's in bubbles. Now I have the tincture, which is a pure caryophyllene. It's a pure caryophyllene blend that can be used topically, and it can actually be used a small amount orally. But it has some amazing effects. They just don't have the duration or the absorbability of the liposomes. And then the third product is the gel. And the gel is terrific. It has a number of other terpene blends in it, and it has amazing property for analgesia and neuropathy correction. And people put it on their temple if they have a headache, and it relieves their headache. In addition, it heals skin wrinkling and skin lesions as well. And then I've formulated a capsule. Well, it's actually a crunch. It's a small cookie, a 1 centimeter cookie that contains a significant amount of caryophyllene, and that can be used as a little snack, and it gives you quite a buzz. You get the effects of it, but it's also good for children and pets. And so pets can use this as well as people.
And the lipo, whatever you call it, the little bubble, I'm trying to picture what that looks like. Is it a packet? Is it a fizzy I pour into water and it fizzes? Is it Alka-Seltzer?
No, it's a liquid. I'm sorry that I didn't explain that. It's a liquid that is a kind of a brownish tinge, and it's a water soluble. And you put in 1 drop has 1 milligram of caryophyllene in it, and I recommend people take in 10 to 15 drops of it, or a half a milliliter. A half a milliliter will give you an immediate effect. For most people, have immediate response to it in terms of analgesia, in terms of vision, the enhancement of vision quality, a calming effect, relaxation, a muscle, a joint mobilization. So you're able to move your joints much more easily than if you have not had it.
So it's a liquid that I put drops into some other liquid, like a drink or water or beer. Maybe I put it into my beer here or something.
Of course, the Irishman.
Gotta add it back to the beer.
I actually would recommend it. I'd love to get it into a shop that would provide additives for people, either into a smoothie shop, or into a beer hall, or just as a coffee addition, because it has so many benefits and it happens so quickly that you can feel the effects so well with it. It will give you a boost for the entire day.
Why shouldn't it be an additive?
What's the 3, Dr. Trin?
I have 3 questions.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, question number 1. have you done studies specific to your product? Have you tested it in a study or a small pilot or a clinical trial? Question number two is are these products available for wholesalers who want to put their stuff into their coffee, their beer, who wants to sell stuff like that?
Additive, right? Yeah.
Question number three is I want to try some of this stuff you got. And
that's not a question. That's a request. So you only get two questions.
No, the question would be, may I test it?
Yeah. Right. Yes, may I test it? I'm looking at Helena. She looks younger. Maybe maybe she's doing the wrinkle thing with the product.
Well, it's not a face serum. That's the face serum I'm using is actually the potency number 710, which we had on our podcast last week. But I have tried, because when we certified, this product is certified by the Physicians Cannabinoid Council. And I've tried it myself, and I have it, as you see, as a sample. Thank you so much, Dr. Blair. But one of the things that I didn't know, because I don't read a lot of things. And one of the reasons why I didn't read a lot of things is that at one point in my life, I had macular degeneration. Right. And now it's stabilized and it's stopped. But obviously my vision is not as good as it used to be. When I started to take your drops on a daily basis, after a few days, and I had no idea that was the consequence, I was watching TV and I was going, why don't I need my glasses anymore? It's weird. I feel like I have a better vision. I feel like I see better, and I didn't know why. I thought, oh, my body is rejuvenating, right? Yeah. And then I spoke to you, Dr. Blair, because you wanted me to get some feedback on your product, and you said that this is actually one of the effects. Talk about that, because this is quite impressive. And I mean, I know so many people that would love to be able to.
You got two people with glasses on the show here. Yeah.
But if you stop obviously taking it, it goes back to its normal state. But when you take it after 2-3 days, you feel that you have just like that 10, 15 or 20%, boost of your vision.
I want to talk about that, but I also want to answer Dr. Trin's question.
Okay, you have so many questions.
So number one, I've got several studies planned, but I've been having some difficulty getting them organized, and I do have funding for the studies. I've got one in Australia. I've got one at Yale, and a second one at Medical College of Georgia. I'm hoping that we can get these off the mark and get them studied
because Dr. Trin in real life does clinical trials and studies, and has at Irvine Clinical Trials here does do that. So he's always interested in that specific thing and always looking for new areas to try stuff out or to connect you with people. He's a trial guy here.
Well, great. I want to connect up with you in terms of doing those studies, because it's paramount that we get these studies done and that we get them documented. Now, the other question about getting a product, I did send you some products, but I'm not sure if you had them sampled or you took them.
Elaine grabbed them all. She has them on her desk there. Dr. Trin never saw any of them. That's a typical complaint we have. Doesn't make it to the man at the top here. Just people scoop it up along the way here. So,
guilty.
So we need to get some more.
No, he's having 2 sets of sample, and at the time that he did that, Jeff asked me for a set of sample, and I did give it to him, and I had my set of sample.
Just telling you the way things work in this company here, Dr. Blair.
But it did not get to the top. It's true.
So we need to call it out and send another set of samples.
I got caught here.
Dr. Trin can
live on camera and TV and radio.
But younger.
Yeah.
So I see the anti-aging effect there.
Yeah, right.
And what was your second question, Dr. Trin?
Like for somebody who, let's say, sells coffee, can they buy?
We offer it in a wholesale, and we actually offer it as a white label product if people want to put their own label on it and incorporate it as their particular trend for the product.
That would seem like
we offer it retail on our website. but we also offer it wholesale for vendors, and we offer white label for people who want to incorporate.
That would seem like the real business opportunity here, because think of the other compounds, whether it's cereal or food, they're all saying I've got vitamin D added, I've got extra something added here, I have echinacea added when that was hot or whatever here, I have some herb, some compound, some vitamin added to supplement this. It's not bad taking these Twinkies, it's got some extra boost to it here. And in particular, beer, that there are people brewing beer that are trying to add cannabinoids and stuff to it. I've seen some of those products in the market. There are people certainly with coffee. There's certainly common drinks like that. I would think they would be all over this, because they're commonly criticized for being, well, you don't need coffee, you don't need beer, you don't need all these things here. Well, what? But mine's got some little extra health benefit to it here, in addition to all the other reasons you drink coffee or drink beer. I would think they would embrace that.
That's one of the advantages of coming on with PCC, that we can get the word out and we can get the legitimacy of this product out there, and the benefits that can come from it. And if we can establish that this has true benefits, because right now it's sounding a lot like snake oil.
Yes, I didn't want to say that, but that's what it sounds like.
That it really has true, honest to goodness and
medicinal aspect
benefits.
Yeah. Are you going to our longevity conference in Orlando?
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
Tell us about that. I know you guys are talking some secrets.
So we're going to the Holistic Lifestyle Trade Show in Orlando, Florida on May 31st to June 3rd. And we will have a speaking engagement there, but we will also have a booth where you will be able to see, touch, and probably test some of the products of Dr. Blair. Dr. Blair will be there with us, which is quite exciting. And Dr. Trin will be there with us as well.
Okay. What about things like the huge Natural Products Expo that's in Anaheim every year here, where it's mostly food and stuff, and they're always talking about not just organic, but all these other things that they infuse into food to try and give extra benefits and stuff into, I don't know, bars and into bread and into cereals and other sorts of things. But there's lots of other serum kind of products for health and beauty and wellness and whatnot. Have you ever thought of exhibiting at one of these things? These are the things that the mother's markets of the world go to find the next products they're going to put on their shelves.
Well, I certainly have thought about that, but we're only a company that's only been operational for a year. And because of that, we're trying to build funds, and we're trying to make our budget meet. We've been successful at selling a large number of products, but not to the point where we have extra funds to incorporate into the expos that are very expensive to attend. Right. I very much want to get into the holistic events, the light longevity events, because beta-caryophyllene has been shown to increase the lifespan of rats by 13%, which is a really remarkable improvement.
Now, I have so many questions again.
Well, we're running out of time here. We're down to the last couple of minutes here of the show.
Yeah, I know, right? That's it. So, obviously, you're going to have this opportunity at the Holistic Lifestyle Show, because you're going to also be surrounded by all kinds of spas and retailers and in places like that you will be able to visit. But my question is, have you found any side effects that people should be worried about? Like we know that it's never, you don't want it to be like the snake oil or the miracle product. What should they be careful about?
It's absolutely safe. It's been tested in animals to 500 milligrams per kilogram, huge amounts, and it has not had any toxicity. It doesn't have any drug interactions. It doesn't have any side effects that I'm aware of. It doesn't produce any dependence. There's actually a reverse tolerance that occurs with it. So after you use it for a period of time, you can make epigenetic changes that may be permanent. That's impermanent on the eye as well as the blood pressure. I've seen that with some patients have controlled their blood pressure with it, and they haven't required additional dosing.
Wow. Okay, sounds like a miracle cure to me here. I'm not sure. We don't want to go that far here, but we want to say that it is available right now. How do they find it?
Well, the best place to go is to blairmedicalgroup.shop. And you can look at the products. I've got some education programs on it. One of the particular areas that is really effective is mast cell activation syndrome, which is an allergic phenomenon that people have that's not well recognized. And we've got the literature on exercise, fitness, and inflammation, as well as cardiovascular fitness on that website as well. But the products are listed there. We've got 4 different products for sale that are beta-caryophyllene, that are safe, that do not come from hemp, and so they're safe for use for people who are getting drug tested.
Amazing. I just wonder every day. I hear stuff that Elaine brings on the show, and I wonder, why isn't this front page news? And I suspect it's still part of the ongoing battle that people have. 2 battles. One, the medical establishment just wants to give you a pill, and the public still has a hesitation about hemp and cannabis and cannabinoids here.
Can I get one other hit on here? And Helene, you asked about the eye effects. It operates on at least 10 different mechanisms for reducing inflammation in the eye and correcting for macular degeneration as well as glaucoma. Just amazing properties of the eye on this substance.
All from a few drops. What do you do? Once a day, twice a day?
I'd like to do it twice a day, at least half a milliliter twice a day. And that's in effect 15 milligrams twice a day. And it's actually a delicious product. It
is delicious. And I'm on the website ordering it now.
Yeah.
At a bigger size than the sample I have.
Dose for Dr. Trin this time. Here.
Dr. Blair, get me some because the president is taking it off.
Yeah.
Do we have a little promo code this morning?
Any promo codes you want to get? No promo codes.
Yeah, we can give you
call it Elaine. Elaine.
Yeah, the PCC. If there's PCC promo code.
Cool.
Then maybe our patients, not my patients, because I'm not a doctor, but all Dr. Trin's senior, patients that he has across California who's listening or who he is visiting, because Dr. Trin goes to a lot of community center and senior facilities talking about, if we have a PCC code, let's give
He's
them.
Trying to draft
get you
one right now.
I just have to find out which the code is.
Oh, you can make a code called PCC now.
So, Dr. Trin, I think we need to change the organizational structure here. The stuff should come to you first. You should.
Yeah, right.
Your post office box. Because I'm beginning to understand the problem here.
So thank you, 23.
Thank you, 23. All right. Thank you, 23 is the code to get how much discount?
20% discount.
20% discount. All right. That's really good. Thank you, 23, for 20% discount.
There you go.
Love this. Add to cart.
Right.
All right,
guys.
Take us out, Dr. Trin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blair. There is a lot to learn here.
Oh my God, yes.
To taking a deeper dive into your research, what you do, the products, and the fact that Helene's eyes got better. Wow, talk about a testimony.
Yeah.
I mean,
and of course she looks much younger as well, so she's doing something with those products.
That could be the Zoom effect, though. You know that you can actually soften your whole wrinkled face and just look a little nicer. Right. It's the Dynasty effect. Remember when Crystal in Dynasty would always look like she's shining like a diamond?
They used to, in the early film days, they put Vaseline on the lens to make it.
I think there's a lot of Vaselines on Zoom right now.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show. And
thank you.
About this incredible substance.
We'll get you a copy of this, share it with the world, and keep telling your story. Come back and tell us more.
Oh, thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing you in Orlando on May 31st.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Stay with us.
Well, there you have it. One more reason to tune in each and every time as we talk about health on the one show that shows you a path to a healthier life, one conversation at a time. Right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.